Hello and assalamu alaikum. Today we are here for a Semantic SEO podcast. This is the first podcast in the series of Semantic SEO. My name is Ahmad Rahman and I'm an agency owner in Edinburgh called AR SEO Consultant. We have got a special guest as well, who is a Semantic SEO expert based in Pakistan. Behzad Hussain, welcome to the show. I will be interviewing many SEO experts in this podcast series. Many are scheduled already. So I plan to start the first podcast with the person I know actually through the learning that I've taken from him as well. So just a brief introduction about Behzad. He has got 7 years experience specializing in SEO, especially focused on semantic SEO from Korays Topical Authority framework as well. Behzad is right now a leader in two cohort groups in Koray's private SEO community. One cohort rigorously discusses the implementation of Korays Framework by sharing and discussing Topical Authority course lectures, and second cohort group discusses and researches Google patterns along with other search engine patterns, but main focus is on Google patterns to explore Google's backend working of query parsing and processing. He works in all niches except casino, vaping, and crypto, and any other alike as well. So much like me as well, which is a good start, I think. So let's begin with the very frequently asked question, which is about like, what is semantic SEO and how it is different from the traditional SEO, which we have been doing as well from last couple of years.
Hi Ahmad, I am happy to have you here, and It is nice meeting with you, and a very good start for sharing semantic SEO concepts because there is a lot of audience that is looking to learn semantic SEO and no platform that is trying to teach or share these concepts in a simplified ways. So I am here and I appreciate your efforts to do all these things and invite me. I am happy to join you. You asked about the semantic SEO and the difference between traditional and semantic SEO.
Yeah.
Actually, after the announcement of things not strings, search engine introduced the knowledge graph where they started to recognize the entities and they started to store the entities along with their attributes. So it was a revolutionary step, and from that day of 16th May 2012, Google became a semantic web or semantic search engine, because in that introductory post, Amit Singhal was the writer and the engineer of Google Patents. He explained that from today we are going to understand the contexts of entities with the help of their established attributes. So in traditional SEO, we were not enough focused on the semantic relationships. That was actually a keyword centric approach. As you know, there are SEO tools that show difficulty scores and the traffic search volume. So the traditional SEOs were focusing on individual keywords and they were expecting Google to rank their pages based on their individual keywords. But actually, sometimes there are different keywords, different languages, but search intent is 100% same. So search engine sees those keywords just a single topic or single intent. So this is the biggest difference between traditional SEO and semantic SEO, that in semantic SEO we work to understand the overall topic, user search intent, and we see how we can optimize our page to fulfill the overall needs of a user with the help of their searched queries. One more thing that I would like to clarify regarding the keywords. In semantic SEO, we don't ignore keywords because keywords are the hints that our target audience is using these words and phrases to fulfill their needs. So we utilize keywords as query network, query data to understand what actually our audience is searching for and how we will fulfill their intent through our content. So this is the basic difference.
Perfect. That's a really good explanation of things and not strings actually. But one question arises from here again, like many big websites who are in the market for a long time, and we go to them to seek some information as well. It could be health related, it could be journal study related, or any other information that we're looking for. we after learning semantics, we see that they have not done semantics as much as we know, or we are aware of the rules of semantics. So how they still rank high, or how they are chosen as an authority, and then we try to beat them using semantics. How does that work with the websites which haven't followed semantics ever, or have just built an authority over the time? What is your take on
Yes,
it?
yes. Actually, Google announced things not strings in 16th May 2012. So, what were the basis of understanding the content before 2012? So, it is the main answer here. From 1998, Google shifted its trust over backlinks authority.
Mm-hmm.
So, the number of backlinks, search engine was considering those backlinks as a vote of confidence for that page. So
Right.
the websites, those have established their authority with the help of a lot of backlinks, good backlinks, or you can say high authority backlinks, and they have automated and optimized social media that further reinforces and enhances their brand popularity. And
Right.
then they have maximum topical coverage on their website. So these are the different pillars. Number one is their backlink authority. That is the first ever signal that search engine looks at the website. And then
Mm-hmm.
social media power, or you can say brand popularity, brand power. And then the most important one, along with backlinks and brand popularity, is the topical coverage and momentum. You see, they
Mm-hmm.
publish a lot of content, and they
Yeah.
have different authority thresholds and trust thresholds that search engine has considered for those websites. This is why search engine treats them as a categorical authority sources for their particular clusters. So this is
Mm-hmm.
the main reason.
Right, right, right. Let's move on to the Korays framework. Like those who have done semantic SEO and have taken the Korays topical authority course, they know like there are 5 steps of a topical map: source, context, central entity, central search intent, core, and outer section. And then we go on to creating the content briefs after that. So,
Yes.
among these 5 steps, what is the most difficult step to implement, and what is the reason behind that?
Yes, first of all, topical map is a step where we try to understand what content strategy we need to publish on the website, what are the smaller pieces of puzzles that we need to solve on this website, or what pages we need to have on our website to earn more business or to earn more targeted relevant traffic. So this one is a long labor work, research work, where we need to explore so many knowledge domains, so many contextual domains, then research with SEO tools, then to understand frame semantics, what topics we can cover, what topics we can merge. But this is not the toughest step or the difficult
Mhm.
most step. The most difficult step is content brief creation, because here we are going to compete with our competitors in a real world. Topical
Yeah.
map was just a strategy, and now for the execution we create content briefs, how this page's content will be written. So content brief is an instructional manual for the writers. We believe that writers work is not to do SEO research. So these are the SEOs who need to decide what content must be there on page and how much content we need on this page, what
Right.
context we need to put more emphasis, and which intents we need to cover on the page. So while creating content brief, it becomes a huge task or a big challenge to see what gaps our competitors have, what are the quality thresholds that search engine is expecting for these topics, and how we will go unique, meanwhile beating the existing pages authority through our optimized content. So I
Mhm.
think the content brief creation is the most toughest step in the Korays framework.
Exactly. I have been through on this journey as well, and I can say
Mm.
content brief, not just a click of like add headings and that's it. We have to look at many
Yes,
other concepts, and
exactly.
sometimes I forget, like I missed this step. Let's look back and see how we can configure the headings and the article methodology.
Exactly.
Obviously, we will touch on this going forward as well, which is I have got some questions which
Yes, sure.
sometimes I struggle with, and I'm sure it will also help the community going forward. So after that, like in the same staying in the same context of Korays framework, which step is the one that we should never get wrong? As you mentioned, like content briefs are the difficult ones, but
Hmm.
obviously if you have not done the good research, you will not end up with a good content brief as well. So what, in your experience, which step is the one that should we should be very careful while constructing that blueprint of that area? Is it a core section, outer section, research, or sometimes the central entity is becomes very vague when you're discussing many other topics, or you have a broad entities being discussed? So which topic do you
Yes.
think we should never get wrong while constructing the topical map and the semantic content network?
Yes, first of all, I recommend two things not to get wrong and to work most your efforts on these two topics. Number one is central entity configuration, and number two is central search intent. If your central search intent is vague, or you are unable to figure out your target audience needs and intents, both of your practical sections, core section and outer section, may be wrong. So you must focus majority of your time to understand what our target audience needs are, what they are searching, and when you do the work, then you know, when you augment the user search intents, there is a whole lot new world, a lot of queries, a lot of same. And in our natural language, every user writes a different query, but their intent is same, their needs are same. So that becomes a huge challenge to understand ultimately what the user needs from these queries. So that's the most difficult and most important work. If it is wrong, there are chances your topical map may go wrong, same
And
wise.
all the efforts will be wasted as well, and
Yes,
you will say
exactly,
semantic SEO
exactly.
does not work. Right,
Yes,
right.
that's the thing.
Yeah, perfect. So when it comes to there are concepts in that which Corey mentioned about vastness, depth, and momentum. Obviously, we will not discuss momentum right now, but in terms of when he says you can go vast or you can go depth. So what is the decisive factor? Like how to decide when to go vast on a topic or when to go deep on a topic, or can we do both at the same time, or do we have to choose between one over the other? And what are the reason for that?
Yes, first of all, the vastness and depth concepts are related to topical map. In our core section attributes, we need to go deep because we want to conquer that field. We want to conquer that contextual domain where our money is going to come to our bank accounts. So these core section, we need to go in depth because we want to cover as much attributes or as much context or as much user intents on our website as possible, because we want to attract the right audience that is going to give us business. Whatever the source context is, we need 100% right and target audience. This is the first point. And individual page level, when we start creating content briefs, then again there is a question, which node to be a quality one, or which node we need to go deeper, and which node we can go with normal depth. So
Right.
here is the main thing: the topics or nodes that are closer to our source context, these
Mhm.
nodes must be in depth. For example, if you are selling a product, for example, in my example I gave vitamin D supplements e-commerce store example. So all the topics related to vitamins must go in depth. And then in outer section we are going with wider approach or vastness. We are going to cover the more related topics. The purpose is to cover as much as connected topics on our website, so that we can attract the relevant and related traffic who may not be ready to buy our services or our products today, but tomorrow they can be a lead for our product or source context. So this way we go vast in our outer section to cover more topics to attract more and more relevant traffic. And in our core section we try to go in depth, or we try to go as much deeper as possible, because we want to be the sole authority for our core section.
Perfect. That's great. I think you have answered some of the part of my next question as well. So when we are creating topical map, how far we should be going within a topic? Should we always keep source context and central search intent in mind, or we just need to cover the topic by based on any other attributes? Because in the attributes we have got root, rare, and relevant attributes as well. So how far we can go within topic? For example, if you're selling something, um, you should be thinking about what the intents of the person are, of what are the intents of a user are. They can have different health intents regarding the vitamin D example that you gave previously. So how far we can go? Can a website who is selling vitamin D supplements talk about the manufacturing process as well, or the company is selling vitamin D or making company, or how far we can go within a topic to to not dilute the context and cover the relevant entities to achieve topical authority?
Yes, for this purpose, we need to identify what are the root, rare, and unique attributes of our central entity that will be covered in the outer section of our topical map. So, the main thing that we need to focus is to whether a topic is related to our central entity or not, because sometimes some SEOs become confused in this context. They think that we can only write about the source context or the ultimate offer of our website. No, that's not the true thing. If we stick on the source context, how we will be wider on the website, how we will attract the relevant traffic on our website, because the commercial topics has always lower searches than the related informational content, and search engines want to minimize the user clicks on the SERP. If your website is not providing the informational content related to your products or your source context, and user has to do another click to read the informational concepts of your knowledge domain, your website is wasted, because search engine will consider that your website is not fulfilling the user needs. And if your website is not fulfilling the needs of your target audience, it means it will be wiped out from the SERP. So, to cover all the needs, to fulfill all the related needs of our target audience, we need to cover informational content on our website through outer section. And to figure out what is my target topics for this outer section, we take start from root, rare, and unique attributes of our central entity, and then for each topic we try to evaluate whether this topic is directly related to my central entity or not. If it is related to central entity, we are in a safe zone. But if it is not related to our central entity, now we are going to dilute our topical boundaries. That will be a riskier thing. So
Right,
this is
right.
the main touchstone for our outer section, vastness.
Right, right, perfect. I think I will leave another question for later because I'm not sure if I'll be able to remember about the informational context. But anyways, um, when it comes to internal links, there is also a proper strategy of when and where to put the internal links while creating content briefs. Many people within the same community have seen like this discuss put it in the main content section, and some say put most of the links in the supplementary content section. So my question is like, while deciding the internal links, what is the actual principle, or does it relate to the root, seed, and node principle? Like root should have more, node should have less, seed should have in between. How does it work, and what is the main actual principle that you use and you want to convey to the community as well?
Yes, first of all, internal linking must always be contextual. It means that topic must be contextually relevant, and we must create some context to connect with that document. In my social media post, I shared many Google patents, and one patent that discusses that is reference based documents ranking. It is all about the internal linking, and it says that search engine reads 5 words, 5 to 25 words, 5 to 15 words at the right side of anchor text, and 5 to 15 words at the left side of the anchor text, to understand what is the context of that linked page. So
Right.
first of all, first thing is that every internal link from the page must be contextual, and number two, there is no hard and fast rule from where we can give link. First rule is that in informational documents, we must give an internal link to the related informational node from the supplementary content, or you can say micro context. It may be informational and it may go to the commercial page or the source context related core section page.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, this thing is clear that we need to give link from the supplementary content. Now, the question is, should we give link from the main content or the main body of the article or not? So, wherever it is needed, we must give from the body content or the main content of the page. There are some precautions or some conditions or some policies you can say that I adopt. First one is that the link must be the most important one, and normally informational page is not an important one to give link from the body part.
Right.
I will not give link to the body part from the body part to an informational page. The purpose of outer section on our website, or you can say the informational documents on our website, is twofold. First purpose is to give internal link to the commercial pages. So each page must support directly a commercial page, so that on whichever page our user lands on our website, it must route to the commercial page for the end need fulfillment. So if you think that a body section or the main content of a page contextually relates to the commercial page, we can give link to that commercial page. So you can make a policy like this: all the informational links will go from the supplementary content, supplementary part of the page or micro context, and all the most important links may be the core section pages links or the root or seed pages. No equal level linking from the main content of the page. From the main content, link may go only to three sources: either core section page, commercial page or source context related page, or root page or the seed page. No other exception. So this way I figure out that these things must be internal linked in this way, with the logic, with the proper reason, with the system. Nothing is random here. So everything is calculated, everything is fully mathematically presumed and statistical.
It depends. So if you are writing about informational pages, you can link from wherever you want as far as it is contextually relevant. Never link
Yes.
from the core section, core pages, obviously, because we are trying to bring all the authority and all the engagement from information or outer section to the core section of the money making pages.
Yes,
That's fine.
exactly.
Uh, so next question, let's move on to the one is this is actually my from my side as well, because this is something I find hard to understand. In most of the examples that we see in the community and from Koray as well, correct me if I'm wrong, like mostly there are just two sections. One is the main top section and second is the supplementary section. It's very hard to find an FAQ section. So is supplementary section kind of an FAQ part, or FAQ section is totally different and we can use it on different areas? How what is the reason behind that, and what do you think about it?
Yes, actually, FAQ section means we find some questions and we club them at the end of the page. But in
Right.
our semantic SEO or Korays framework, we don't put any FAQ section, because if a user query relates to our top level section or any other section, we will respond to that question from that particular section. We will not create a second question in the bottom with the name of FAQs, because it will dilute our context. When we have separate sections to cover the user intents, we need to respond from that section for information responsiveness purpose. And now search engine has abandoned FAQ page schema. So search engine now doesn't use the FAQ page schema to show the people also ask questions. Most of the time, if you see people also ask questions, that particular question is not anywhere in the page. So
Yeah.
what was that? Search engine self created that question because that particular section was relevant to the searched query. So search engine formulated a new question to represent that related context to the user on the SERP.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
we believe we don't need such questions in our informational documents, but still in our commercial pages, we try to cover some specific informational intents in the bottom of our commercial page, because we believe that the commercial page must have landing page layout. Designing must be like a commercial page, it must not be like an informational page. So from the top of the page we try to keep the commerciality or the commercial context of the page by fulfilling the user needs, by bringing the CTAs and all the features, why to choose us, our reviews, and all others are service attributes. And at the bottom of the page we bring informational questions. So here we try to consolidate the informational intents in a single section, and still we are not going to dilute our context. If something
Right.
is related to upper section, we will answer it from that particular section without any other extra question, just to fulfill or answer a single intent of a user. So this is the
Right.
reason.
Perfect. I think my next question is quite similar to what I asked previously. So if we say that FAQ is not important and supplementary section will be surface to related queries, to answer related queries. So is it important like to have a supplementary section at all? Or let's say if you're talking about an attribute of an entity which is not very high level, and we just want to cover that from just for the sake of covering that entity from that angle, is it important to have the supplementary section on that page as well, or is it just for adding links to the other relevant pages?
Yes, the supplementary content or micro context has both benefits. So we have both purposes in mind while creating supplementary content. If you
Mm-hmm.
read Google's quality rater guidelines, they said there are three parts of a page. Number one, main content, that we say macro context or the main content. Second one, they call it supplementary content. The supplementary content we call it micro context, and they explain that supplementary content is to link to other pages.
Right.
If you read Google patent user context based search engine,
Yeah.
that patent says that for each information available on the net, search engine assigns a macro context and micro context to each type of information. Either it is a website, either it is a user cluster, or either it is a query cluster or query network. And
Mhm.
whenever you search something on the SERP, there are always 2 or 3 relevant results not directly related to the main topic. So search engine itself shows micro context of the topic on the SERP. So it shows because it wants to start the user's next journey. For example, I search for vitamin A supplements on the SERP, and then search engine will show something regarding vitamin C and vitamin D and vitamin B because it was a related context. It
Mhm.
was and one Google patent, that is query suggestion templates. According to that Google patent, search engine shows 6 queries related to the 6 queries that were searched previously or after the searched query by a user.
Mhm.
So search engine always show the related contexts or the related content on the SERP, because micro context is always important, because search engine wants to improve the user's journey. If you provide related content in your supplementary content, it will be a next signal for user. If it reaches the bottom of the page, it will see, okay, this topic is also covered on this website, so he may go to that page. So it will
Right.
increase user response and user behavior and user time on the page, on the website, bringing a positive signal for the website. So
Exactly.
in 90% cases, we think that supplementary content is a compulsory part of a page.
No, that makes very clear sense to me as well now.
Yes. Mm.
So let's move on to the question. I think we are talking in more of a contextual vector way, because my next question is based on your answer, where your answer ends. So it seems like it's most of a semantic content network of questions that I've got. So next question is
Yes.
about how to actually construct a contextual border. Like, this is something which separates the main content and the supplementary content. So should it show the beginning of supplementary content when you make a contextual border, or it could be anything about the topic in the main section of the content or web page to create a division? Like, how do we decide what question will fall in the contextual border?
Yes, actually, the main purpose of our contextual border is to connect our main content with the supplementary content. For example, we are writing one page for vitamin D supplements benefits. So the macro context or the main content of the page will list down all the benefits. And if there are any supportive context on the sub-related context we want to cover in the main content, we can cover. And then we want to connect it with the vitamin A. Let's assume we want to give link to our commercial page. So we need to shift from our main content to supplementary context. So while shifting from macro context to micro context, we need a bridge or border, because we need to make sure we are connecting each vector with discourse integration. From top to bottom, we have a straight contextual flow.
Yeah.
If we don't connect the supplementary content with the main content, our contextual flow will be broken. Our topic will be diluted. So we have two conditions to construct a contextual bridge. Number one, it must have some representation of the main content. And the second thing that we need to have in the contextual border is some representation of the supplementary content or the micro context. So this heading will combine these two entities with a particular established context. So what is context of our macro content, and what is the context of our micro context, our supplementary content? These two must be verbalized and associated in the contextual border, so that we have a straight contextual flow while moving from macro context to micro context. So this is the
Yeah.
main logic, and this is the process how to construct a contextual bridge.
Right. Because when remember the example of Koray's water guide example, where in the
Yes.
topic of 20 benefits of drinking water, 20 benefits of
Yes.
drinking water in terms of health, physical and others, the contextual border was about how much water you
How
should
much
drink
water?
a day. And
Exactly.
then
Exactly.
in the supplementary section, he actually expanded on the contextual border, like how much water you should drink in a day, in the
In the
morning, in the
morning,
night as well.
yes.
So next
Yes,
question,
exactly.
obviously this is something I came across, is like when you are building a contextual border, the supplementary content should reflect that as well. Like, it is expanding forward, and then we will start linking going from that section as well. Am I right in saying
Yes.
that?
Yes, exactly. We need to expand on the main content or the macro context, so that we keep our contextual flow. So this is the main context in our NLP discourse integration. So every context, every sentence is connected with the next one with a proper context and user intents.
Right.
So this is
So
the main logic.
it means that from the root page, if we have got supplementary section, so the root document cannot go here and there from after the
Yes.
contextual border. It cannot list all the links. It can only link out to the relevant informative part or the journey of a user,
Yes.
and cannot talk about many other things while discussing the benefits as well.
Yes, exactly. Our root page is the most sensitive page on our website because it has to consolidate the fullest user journey or the full query network, or in more specific terms, the full query path of our audience on our website, because it is going to be the root of the whole semantic content network. Lecture 17 of Koray's Topical Authority course explains that if your root page is weakened, your whole semantic content network may be weakened. So you must put extra effort to verbalize the central search intent in this document because it is a root of semantic content network.
So let's move on to some questions about the content briefs going forward, and I will begin with like, what is a representative and represented query, and how often are they used in creating content brief? Do they come in the same brief, or are they like concepts used in root, seed, and node? Like how often they are used together, and what are their purpose of using it?
Yes, Sir Koray's lecture 72 or 77 discusses this thing. So the main thing is we have some contextual layers. Contextual layers means weight loss is a knowledge domain. Then it has some particular contexts like weight loss for men. It is a contextual domain. And then we further augment these user intents, and there are particular user queries like weight loss for men above 60. So it is a contextual layer. So let's assume we have multiple queries: weight loss for men after 60, over 50, over 45, over 18, or whatever the age contextual layers, singular specific intents. So all these, we can club all these age related contextual layers, and we can represent these queries with the weight loss for men related heading.
Right.
So these are the represented queries that are going to be represented through contextual domain of weight loss for men. So this is the easiest example to understand that, because users has multiple queries, every 7th or every 11th user writes its own variation of the query. So we figure out what are the smaller queries that has very small user demand or very less prominence in our contextual structures, contextual flow. So we try to combine those small queries or singular intents and represent with the help of a bigger question. And sometimes it is the example that I have given, and sometimes in construction of contextual border, like we have 2-3 singular contexts that we want to have on the page in a supplementary content, and then we see how to connect these individual intents or contextual layers with the main content. It becomes problematic. So what we do, we bring one grouper question or representative question that connects main content with the supplementary content and serves as a representative question to represent the upcoming individual contextual layers or the topics.
Right.
So it is the easiest way to explain represented and representative queries.
Perfect. Now something, this is the next question is about something I struggled initially as well, but even sometimes I struggle again. I don't say I'm a very good expert like you, but I will say when you're writing content for when you have done the briefs and now you're writing content, how often do you check what competitors are writing? Or normally, like when we construct a brief, we are looking at the keywords that they're ranking for rather than just looking at the keywords, and
Yes.
we use those keywords to inform our content in the content brief as well. To where will the first heading go, second, and recurring? How do you know, or how do you tell the writers like what to write in what section and where to end it? Do you compare the content of competitors as well, or do you just tell them like this is the topic, this is the heading, this is how much you have to write, and this is the end of this heading as well? How do you instruct that?
Yes.
Considering like you have got article methodology as well, like how to write an article, we have got some rules, but apart from that, how do you understand where the topic is going and which heading should cover which topic and to what extent?
Yes, exactly. The main issue is that we don't want to be 100% unique. We don't want to be 100% duplicate our competitors. We need a midway, and we also need to have some information gain score. There is a
Exactly,
Google patent
using
for
Schema.
contextual estimation of link information gain. So according to that Google patent, search engine looks at the candidate ranking pages that are available to rank on the SERP and checks whether these pages or websites have extra information than the already ranking pages or not. If they have more information, or in Korays language, if they have more information responsiveness, they have covered more contexts and more intents, or according to Google paper, knowledge based trust, if their page has more semantic triples or more information in the form of semantic triples, their link information gain score will be higher. That will be used to rank those pages. So we can't ignore our competitors, because this is the ladder. Competitors are the ladder. By jumping over them, we need to claim our authority. They are
Exactly.
the basic threshold. They have established some base quality threshold that we need to exceed. If we ignore our competitors 100%,
Yeah.
we will be unaware of what are the quality thresholds that search engine needs to rank for these topics. So competitors are our first teachers. First we will check them what they are providing. We need to provide more quality, more contextual coverage, more topical coverage, and more information responsiveness to beat them, to claim to search engines that we are the most comprehensive and the most representative source for this whole cluster. So what I do, I check individual sections. I have a custom GPT to explore what user contexts and intents has been covered in each of their section,
Right.
and what extra information I can provide. It is just a small check that by looking at the whole output, I am able to understand, okay, this section, this is the H2. In this H2, they have responded to these user intents. Okay, these contexts have been covered here. So these perspectives and aspects have been covered in this section. So by picking those particular contexts, particular user intents, I have an idea in my mind, okay, these are the must have user intents that my section must cover on the page. And then
Right.
the GPT have some ideas, some extra information for information gain score. So I validate those ideas whether these are real life ideas or just hallucination. And 99% these are the valid ideas. And then I pick some ideas. Okay, this is the missing information from this page. I would like to go with this extra information. So when I compare 4 to 5 competitors for each content brief, it
Yeah.
helps understand, okay, these documents, this competitor has this information gap, this competitor has this much information gap, so I can fill that gap. And which competitor has missing n-grams, I can go with more n-grams that are related for distributional semantics implementation. So this way, in my content brief creation process, one permanent part is competitors analysis. And I check 3 items for competitor analysis. First of all, their ranking queries. Number 2, their contexts and user intents covered in the individual sections. And number 3, their page elements. What page elements? For example, one type of page element is prose type content. The prose type content is the paragraph form text. Then whether they have any table, whether they have any listicle, whether they have any functionality related component like calculator or any other thing that offers some function or operation or action from the user, or whether they are providing fancy images or what type of visuals they have on their page. So these are the small quality thresholds or the quality signals on their page. So I check all those, and then based on all these information, we plan how to go beyond these quality thresholds. So this is the whole process. I do comparator analysis for content brief creation.
Perfect. The next question again is very related to what you have answered. First, you need to answer like, does it not become time consuming? And I will also add one more thing is like, how do you decide what is the structure of content under each heading? Like, if competitor has just written paragraph and you think this information can be presented better in a table format or listicles or maybe an infographic or anything similar thing, how do you decide that? Do you still check SERPs for that? And again, if you're just looking at headings for each content, how do you decide what extra information gain you can add? Is it the research? Is it the stats? Or is it the surveys? And obviously, since we are just SEOs, we are not industry experts of
Yes.
particular niche like
Exactly.
health or
Yes.
how do you then decide like what should come under this? And how do you inform the writers like find this research, add some stats based on the output that you're writing? I would like to have your overview on that, please.
Yeah, so your first question is time consumption. For the comparator analysis, yes, it is time consuming. That's why I have a custom GPT that gives output in under a minute, and then we have 2-3 minutes analyzing what context, because we have already know about the perspectives and aspects through the query data and the SERP analysis. So after that we have some idea, so what information will be covered in the comparator pages. So then I analyze that output of the custom GPT, that is the context explorer GPT. So this way I try to minimize the time consumption by using custom GPTs at micro steps of content brief creation. This is the first question. And the second question was how to determine which context and which perspective to write in the content first and then second.
Yeah.
So for that each section I search each heading on the SERP, and then I see what search engine is providing, what information, how search engine is annotating that context, what is the
Yeah.
overall presentation, if there is some hint of listicle answers, if there is some feature snippet with a particular value, then my answer will start with that particular value with the range or the truth ranges. If there is some listicles or process, then it is obvious I will start with the list for direct answer to
Right.
optimize the subordinate content. And then how to order the information within a section or under a heading. So which one is the most important attribute or perspective for that particular heading, that will be written first, and then less important, and then relevant context. So in this way
Right.
we arrange information arrangement within a section.
Right. Based on this, I think I've also seen like when I was doing the same thing by checking the context of each heading, I came across the AA overviews, and since we are writing most of the questions for most of the questions, AA overview comes up as well. And you must have also observed like AA overview answers the context we are searching for, and it also adds extra value, which is the kind of
Yes.
next step in the user journey in the overview as well.
Exactly.
So I think that also helps us a lot in understanding what next we should be covering or what the contextual hierarchy should be of our content as well. So that's really helpful. Perfect. That was a great information game for me, if I must
Yes,
say.
exactly.
Next one is if you're offering a product or service on the website, but there's a big section of queries on something like without such product or service. How would you structure your content? For example, like if someone is looking to study a course, but he searches on Google like how can I become an entrepreneur or a businessman or an accountant or data scientist, then imagine if he has a intent of going for a degree course, but when he searches on Google, 80 or 70 or 80% of the things come up of something like how to become X without a degree. So in that case, how would you structure your content? Considering you are selling a course, but the higher intent is coming from for without. Even if you go on the Reddit, Even if you see the PAAs or related searches, the next step is like how you can become one thing without a degree or a course or going to university. So in that case, how do you decide the dominant intent and how will you tackle that content brief going forward?
Yes, the dominant intent and the overall context will be determined based on search behavior and Google's reflection or satisfaction or fulfillment of that intent on the search results. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I am selling a course and users are asking question for that course without that course. For example, how to become expert without any degree, and I am
Yeah,
offering a degree for a particular niche.
yeah,
So it is a gold mine for me. I will create a page for that and I will mention all the aspects that are available on the internet, that are all the possibilities how to become expert without a degree. And then at the bottom section, I will connect it to my page by creating a supplementary content, a micro context of the importance of having a degree for that field's expertise. What happens
right.
are the benefits of becoming an expert with a degree. So I will
Mm-hmm.
bring that contextual border and then I will link to my service page or the course offer page, that if 100, let's assume 100% lands on that page and 10% goes to that course page, if our conversion rate is 1%, so this page will generate one lead.
Right.
So something is better than nothing. So
Yeah.
whether it is positive sentiment or negative sentiment,
Uh-huh.
it is the duty of SEOs how to attract that audience and then convince them to buy our product.
Mm. What
So
I
this
did
is the main
was,
thing.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
after your answer, I was just saying like I created a page as well with the content brief of how to become, let's say, an accountant with degree and without degree. So I tried to cover both intent on the same page. It's already open in front of me. So what I did was like my main purpose was to justify both things. As I've seen,
Hmm.
there are some competitors, some were direct competitors, some were indirect competitors. They were discussing both things on the same page as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
There was not a separate page of both. Uh,
Hmm.
and with the contextual border of how to what skills do you need to become an accountant as well, that was the contextual
Hmm.
border I made, and then went forward with the course pages and other queries related to
Hmm.
the content as well. So what do you think if we cover both on the same page,
Hmm.
is it something that works? Since I said it is not published yet, it is in the
Hmm.
process of being published, the page is being designed for it and everything. So how would you look this from as an semantic SEO expert?
Yeah, so here the main thing will be whether the second intent needs separate pages or not. For example, how to become an accountant without degree, you are writing for this page, and the second intent that you want to cover on the page that I suggested as a contextual border, how to become expert accountant with a degree.
Yeah.
So whether this second question needs a separate page or not. Let's assume it needs a separate page. So we will create that page and link it from this supplementary part of this
Yeah.
page. And
Right.
let's assume that that query doesn't need a separate page, so we will comprehensively answer that query from this section and link to our service page. So
Service
in these
page. Yeah.
both scenarios, we will create according to the search behavior and search engine's pattern of search results.
Perfect. And again, on the same question, when you are covering both intents on the same page, when you have analyzed the
Mm.
SERP and you think like many of the big competitors are mentioning both things on the same page,
Mm.
which obviously the hierarchy of content matters as well in semantic SEO, like what comes first as
Yes,
a heading,
exactly.
second matters as well. So when you're writing the hierarchy of that content, should we consider the search behavior or your source context while creating the hierarchy of such a content? Like since our content will be more of like courses, so my idea was
Mm.
like put the with degree context first and without later. Do you think that's
Mm.
the right approach, or how one can go with this in this case?
First of all, the main thing is main content. So what is the main content of your page? If the macro context or the main content of your page is not matching with your source context, for example, you said without degree, the query, then we can ignore our source context for a while, because we must optimize our page for that particular intent so that search engine can rank that page.
Yeah.
If we are breaking the contextual flow, if we are not fulfilling the intent satisfactorily, if we are not meeting the quality thresholds that our competitors has already set on the SERP, then we will not be able to rank or outrank those competitors. So first thing is to rank our page and then pass the ranking signals towards the commercial pages. So this is the main thing. So this is the first principle, that whether our page is rank worthy or not, whether our page is competable, or you can say whether our page can compete with competitors' documents or not. So this is the main thing to focus on.
So in short, it is more like agree with them first and say, you are saying
Yes.
right, but this is another way of doing it.
Yes, exactly. Contextual connection, contextual border for our source context.
Right. For a website that was not created with SEO in mind, so imagine there's a website which is like 10, 15, 20 years old, but they never thought about SEO from a technical perspective, from accessibility perspective, and they're just running on ads. And since it's a big brand, they are making some customers, but obviously it's more of paid ads as well, and they do some branding and PR. If you are given a chance to work on such a website, how will you start implementing Topical Map? And considering like they don't have resources for site overhaul, and they say, okay, do your job while maintaining this existing system. Will you start from about page first? Will you or will you just start implementing your Topical Map based on different entities? How will you work on such a website?
Yeah, so first step will be brand entity evaluation. What is their brand's power? First of all, if their brand's power is weak, they don't have any popular brand authority or brand popularity or brand search volume. It means the first thing is to put the right basics in the knowledge graph. So first I will work on home page and about page, so that all the search engine understands very well who we are, what we do, and to whom we serve. After these two things, then I will see which pages are performing well and which pages are not performing well. I will do a complete semantic content audit. So the pages that are performing well, I will figure out what are the reasons, why these pages are performing well, what are the reasons, and then the pages which are not ranking well, I will evaluate whether these pages are needed on the website or not. So after this audit, I will decide, okay, these 50, let's assume they have 200 pages and these 50 pages have thin content, and 40 of them are useless. They are not directly related to our semantic content network. We can delete those. So first of all, I will delete those, and then I will try to optimize the existing published content, because these pages has some historical data. I will don't lose that historical data of the existing pages. I will try to update those content when all of the existing pages start getting traffic. Then I will start expanding the topical map. Then I will figure out which pages are missing, which nodes I need to create for this website, and then I will start adding new pages.
Perfect.
So this will be the whole game plan.
Exactly, makes sense. Because I had such a client, and it was hard to convince them of about page as well. They were saying like, no, we are not going to touch about page, and it is very like government based and stuff. Anyways, so if you do not have expert authors on your side in Semantic SEO, it becomes really hard to implement things, because SEOs are not writing experts; they are strategy making experts. So how can you manage, or how someone can manage to write content if they don't have expert authors or support of writing with them, given they have got algorithmic authorship rules, not exactly 200 plus as Koray got, but some chunks of it that still help. So how will you go about it? And normally um, if a company says like write for us, how will you go about it since you don't have the writers? Or will you
Hmm.
do in such a situation?
Yeah, so here is the role of distributional semantics and the contextual engrams.
Mm-hmm.
So when you write content, search engine doesn't know who has written the content. If you have expert authors and they have established authorship in the Google's search engine, then it
Right.
is always helpful to mention those writers on the page. But when you don't have any writers, then you need to prove your expertise by using right language.
Yeah.
That industry specific n-grams you need to mention so that search engine understands that this is the real vocabulary of the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
So we demonstrate our authority with the help of niche related specific language. And when writing such items that are specifically technical like health related content or the finance related content or law related content, all of the YMYL niches where there is very particular vocabulary of the individual niche or market, then we need to keep balance between normal writing
Mm-hmm.
and the contextual engrams. If you write 100% technical wording, user will not be able to understand. And if you
Right.
write plain language, search engine will not consider you as an expert to write that content. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to keep a balance between
Balance.
using technical jargons and user flow or information communication through the content. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the main thing, distribution semantics. And one more thing, frame semantics. For search engine's perspective, when it considers your content as complete or authoritative, when you cover all the related frames or all the related intents or contexts of a topic. So distribution semantics and frame semantics are the two key pillars if you demonstrate your content as a subject matter expert.
Right, right. And when if a company says that they have got writers, just tell us how to write the content. Do you think then we write a lot of I think uh, equal article is written in the article methodology column as well, equally,
Mm.
like what comes in each heading, what word to start with, structure and
Yes.
everything. Do you think that simply helps the writers, or do you also offer some more knowledge in terms of the concepts like discourse integration, phrase co-occurrence, stemming, lemmatization? Do you also offer these things to the writers of a company, or do you just give them article methodology brief along with the content briefs and say this is how you should be writing?
Yes, actually, I share. First, I have some introductory lecture to explain what are the Koray's algorithmic authorship rules, what is the purpose. So it is a first training, and then when they write, so I check on sample basis, and then I give my feedback that okay, see, this rule has not been followed in this sentence. Here in this paragraph, discourse integration is not there. So here topical flow is disturbed. Here we are going out of context. So this is diluting our context. Here semantic triples are not optimized. Here relevant entities are missing. Here uh, predicate is not contextual. So all these things I have at least two sessions with them. First, introduction of Koray's algorithmic authorship rules, and then second one, the main thing, to highlight their mistakes to give feedback.
So when you're writing content, obviously we all learned a lot from Koray, and he's like a gold mine, which is a typical word in SEO. He's a
Exactly.
gold mine of SEO. So there are
Yes.
multiple NLP concepts as well that we come across. As I mentioned in previous question, like the discourse integration, phrase co-occurrence, lexical stemming, and, named entity recognition, name entity disambiguation, and a lot.
Yes.
Like, so how do you use all of them together, or how do you ensure that they are managed accurately? Is there a plan, or do you have any tips for someone who's new or other who are just learning? How they should ensure like these things go hand in hand?
Actually, in our content writing rules, we have all these things, and all these things are implemented or checked on each sentence. For example, when I started to read the content, I review the content, I first check whether the sentence has been started with the named entity or not. If entity is there, okay, then okay, first check is completed, then the verb, whether the predicate is contextual or not. And then in the first go, I will check whether semantic triples has been optimized or not. And then I will see the predicate, and then I will see whether there is any other synonym lexically relations predicate here that we can use in the next sentences or not. And then object, and then here I will see, okay, object is a relevant entity or not, whether it is an appropriate entity to represent this context or not. So I will check whether it is our first sentence, whether we have some n-grams in article methodology to utilize in this sentence or in this section. So whether, so first sentence is the most important one, so whether we have utilized our most prominent entities in the sentence or not. And then when one sentence is completed, I will see whether it is connecting with the second sentence or not. So discourse integration is not there. So I will instruct them, from any part, the second sentence must start with any relevant entity of first sentence semantic triples, whether it is related to subject or predicate or object. So the context is flowing from each sentence like weaving a sweater. So every sentence is weaved with a fully integrated context in a well-structured paragraph. And when there is a definition, then I will be more conscious to understand whether all the relevant attributes of this definition has been covered or not. And then what is the second sentence? Are you expanding on the existing attributes, or there is a specific perspective to respond in the second or third sentence? Or if it is a health related content, whether there is a research study reference or not, is it needed or not, or where we are going to provide some reference context or reference content or research study, etc. So this is the whole sentence by sentence, word by word evaluation and content review.
So since you're also a GPT expert, so did you come up with something like a GPT for writing as well or no?
Yes, for writing, no direct writing, output writing, but just what are the related entities. So small custom GPTs. So this is the heading. So one custom GPT will give all the related entities. One custom GPT will give the semantic triples for that question that can be utilized. And one custom GPT will give me n-grams from the competitor's pages. So I will confirm that whatever n-grams my competitor has covered are available in my content. And one custom GPT will provide semantic triples from the competitor's content. So I will make sure, okay, I am also connecting these entities or predicates in this particular triple or not. Yeah. And one more thing interesting, the Google's research paper, knowledge-based trust, that says algorithms literally count the semantic triples in a page. So based on how many semantic triples are there in a page, it determines your quality, your trustworthiness. So you get knowledge-based trust based on the number of semantic triples that you have provided in the content, because semantic triple is the easiest way for search engines to understand the content without using much resources. So they are provoking to utilize this structured format in still unstructured content.
Right. Since you mentioned search patterns a lot, what
Yes.
are any 2, 3, or 4 tips you want to give to the beginners who are reading the patterns? And since we know like there are thousands of patterns and we cannot read all of them, how do we know which pattern is relevant in today's search? Obviously, we can see the expiry date of the pattern as well. Some are expiring 10 years later, some are expiring 5 years from now. So how do you know which pattern is connected to the which previous pattern, and how you connect them together to come up with a methodology or knowledge seeking thing? And how should we really understand this? Because since we have also got recently 2 or 3 patterns about summarizing AI search or something about it, I
Yes.
think last year. So how do you go across understanding them, and what are the key aspects or the key elements in the pattern apart from abstract that you need to understand or need to read to understand the pattern?
Yes, first of all, what patents we need to understand? First of all, it is not the patent, it is the inventor of the patent. Sometimes some prominent inventors are there. For example, Stephen D. Baker. Stephen D. Baker is a patents engineer, search engines engineer, who has some patents. He has a particular field. Amit Singhal is an Indian patent engineer. So he is an inventor who focuses on the knowledge graph related work. Stephen D. Baker, and then Anna Lee Patterson, engineer, works for the phrase based indexing. And then one more engineer, I am missing his name. He only works on the AI related snippets or feature snippets. So he started working from feature snippets.
Right.
So this way you need to understand which topic you want to explore. For example, I want to explore how search engine picks AI overviews, information for citations, how search engine explores which source is relevant, which source to cite to compile the information. So it all depends on the framework of feature snippets.
Right.
In the feature snippets, they picked concrete information and represented as it is. But now in AI overviews, algorithms are picking information from the website and now creating their own summary with some expansions and enhancements to increase the user journey, to improve the search journey of the searcher, and to increase the click satisfaction. And it is very surprising that from 2013-14 in the Google patents, they have mentioned that they will provide a summary on the sub. In 2012-13, they have patented this technology. So in implementation, they have consumed 10 to 15 years just to reach that destination. So when you read Google patents, you understand, okay, for example, in 2012, there was introduction of knowledge graph that I already mentioned, things not strings. And then in 2013, they patented the Google patent user context based search engine. When they have started to define the knowledge graph, straight away they patented that they will label each index in the knowledge graph for macro context and micro contexts.
Right.
So this way there is a distinct pattern in patents registration and search engines action.
Okay.
And regarding what patents to read, so now AI overviews age is there, AI era, LLMs era are there. So we need to understand how Google's LLMs work. For this, you mentioned one patent, so it is a stateful search on the SERP.
Yeah.
Stateful search. So this patent explains, and this is a huge patent, very long, very, very complex figures there.
Very comprehensive as well, yes.
Yes, very comprehensive. So we need, and it is comprehensive because it consolidates all the knowledge of previous feature snippets based patents. So this way they are annotating all the concepts and contexts for AI overviews and AI representation, AI summaries.
Yeah.
And when reading Google patents, you need to understand the figures are the most important and the most easiest way to understand what this patent is going to explain. There is one abstract, and mostly you will not be able to understand that abstract in a first reading.
Definitely.
So after that abstract, there is a heading background.
Yeah.
Background before summary. So in that background, they will try to annotate some context why this patent was needed and what area this patent is going to target, or what facilities this patent is going to offer to the search engine. So that context, or you can say it is a backstage story why this patent was needed. And when you will read that background, you will uh, you will come to understand that okay, these were the reasons, these are the problems. So this is the reason this patent was invented. So search engine has invented this technology. And then when you will see figure 1, and figure 1 99% shows the components, you can leave it, and then figure 2 or figure 3 will explain the process step by step.
Yeah, the working
Then
concept.
yes, try to understand those workings. These are the sketches, diagrams, and then read the number wise. For example, figure 2 of patent will have some linings and indications of 200, 210, 230, 240. So this numbering has some content written in the patent description. So for each figure, they have a descriptive content.
Yeah.
From that descriptive content, you will find the number and you will read, okay, this component or this number shows this context. This is the meaning of this step that was shown in that figure. So this way you step by step understand. And now this is the era of AI. It is not difficult to understand a patent. Just give the patent to Notebook LLM or any AI agent or any AI model and ask it to summarize each section for you.
Yeah.
So step by step, first understand that summary and then read the patent.
Mhm.
If you don't read the patent fully, the claims section is irrelevant for you because it is for legal purposes. You
Yeah.
can skip the claims section, just
Mhm.
read the abstract, background, summary, and then the figures description. That's enough. And when you have experience of 10 to 15 patents reading, then the process will become easier for you. So you will be able to pinpoint what is the new information in this patent,
Yeah.
because patents information is repetitive among the different patents.
Exactly.
For example, when you read feature snippets related patents, let me confirm it. I think it is from Stephen D. Baker.
Mhm.
Yes, Stephen D. Baker worked on feature snippets related patents, and Microsoft has one patent for passage retrieval, and it is a summary of all the 4 patents from Stephen D. Baker's Google patents.
Mhm.
So you start with reading one patent, then third and fourth patent, and when you read fourth patent regarding feature snippets, you will see 90% information is same, just
Just
10% new
extra.
information. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So extra information is there that is repetitive, and only 10% information is new that is showing how this patent will be implemented, how this technology will facilitate search engines for ranking uh, web results or context scoring any passage. So this way it is a difficult journey, but just you read 2-3 patents, you will be habitual of reading their language. And when you read Google patents, then you understand, okay, this is why Koray speaks the real language of search engines.
Yeah.
Anyone else is trying to fake the search engine's language in a plain language.
Yeah.
How can you expect a doctor to speak like a layman? So they
Exactly.
have their own technical jargons. Subject
Yeah.
matter experts will speak their own language. So why you complain that Koray is speaking very difficult or new things? Because it is the language. Or if you want to simplify Koray's language, just read Bill Slawski's work.
No,
He
I read
explained
that.
the
He was a
patents.
bit technical
Yes.
as well. He was a bit,
But
he was really good. He was really good.
yes, but he tried to explain the main problem is that Sir Koray has no platform to explain individual patent.
Exactly.
But Bill Slawski does this work, so he tried to explain each patent and in a very simplified way. But still, it is very complicated. But still, he tried to summarized and offer the key aspect of that patent.
Yeah.
So reading Bill Slawski's explanation of patents and then reading patent yourself, these are the starting steps.
I think this if someone sees this answer, he will definitely learn a lot because this was a really comprehensive take, and obviously I learned this as well. Like, if you want to read one patent on one technology, look for the
Hmm.
persons working on it, and you will
Exactly.
find all the patterns, and you will not get lost into different patterns and finding the same thing.
Yes,
That is
yes,
really helpful.
exactly.
One thing I would like to praise Koray in that, because I did my theoretical knowledge as well in SEO a lot previously, some free courses, some
Hmm.
paid courses. But when I invested in SEO on Koray, the main reason was the videos that he used to make on YouTube. And you
Hmm.
know why I took? Because they didn't make sense to me at that time. I was like,
Hmm.
this guy is talking things that I never came across. So let's see
Hmm.
how it goes. But now I know, like the things that I've learned through Koray's lectures, his talks in the course, the community
Hmm.
as well. And now when I look at people talking about AEO, GEO, and
Hmm.
whatever they call it, they are the same things. Semantic SEO
Yes.
covers everything. You cannot say a semantic SEO is not AEO specialist or GEO specialist. He's a specialist anywhere you talk about.
Yes,
So
exactly.
even I was watching a video yesterday by HubSpot. It was about how to rank in ChatGPT. I just try to get information like if something new comes up, and they were saying
Hmm.
same thing. Make sure the headings are fine. Everything relates to each
Hmm.
other. The sentence structure should be tabular form, listicles. I said no, I know that how it works, but tell me
Hmm.
something new. But there was nothing
Yes,
new. So
nothing is new. Yes, exactly.
like, and how the question again from here is like when a client comes to you and says, I want to do GEO or AEO,
Hmm.
but since
Hmm.
you call yourself a semantic SEO, how you
Hmm.
convince them that that is not real, this is real, and how do you convince them that you will not just rank on AI overviews, you will also show visibility or get cited,
Hmm.
or visibility on Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, any other element? How you convince them?
Yes, actually, I think no need to convince them. When they want AEO geo services, okay, we will do that because at the back end there are semantic SEO services.
Yeah.
Because semantic SEO optimization, whatever format is easier for LLMs will choose that source. So we
Exactly.
will try our best to optimize the semantic SEO for their website, and then all the and Google will love them. And then I explained that all these things, what are the things that help rank in the LLMs? That is schema markup, that is
Yeah.
optimized content, that is direct answers, that is listicle answers. So how much you can facilitate to the crawlers and LLMs, they will love your website. And one more thing,
Definitely.
majority majority people are sharing the guides on LinkedIn and Facebook that Reddit is supporting the LLM's citations, or LinkedIn is supporting, or the high authority sites are supporting.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the brand popularity. If your brand is popular,
Yes.
LLMs will pick your source.
That's
If
fine.
brand
Yeah.
your brand popularity, if your brand has brand searches, there is a Google patent from Navneet Panda.
Mm-hmm.
Site quality score. Site quality score, that patent explains that when a source has branded search queries in the SERP, and when there are branded search queries, it is a trust signal. They will calculate site quality score on seeing that the searchers, the audience is searching them with their brand queries. And that patent mentions navigational queries because
Mm-hmm.
the query includes the brand name. One thing, and then second thing, they calculate second site quality score when user is satisfied with the shown results. So search engine from Google patents from 2014-15 are claiming that if you have brand popularity, it is a ranking signal for your website, it is a quality score for your website. So
Mm-hmm.
if you increase your brand popularity by writing content over Reddit, what's new here? If you write content on authority sites for parasite SEO, and then get citations in LLMs, what's new? It's brand popularity. It is just the power of
Yeah.
off-page SEO. That's
Mm-hmm.
all. That's the main thing.
Right. And in Topical Authority, since a big section goes on to the informational content throughout the
Yes.
section, and some core section as well. Some core section pages do talk about information as well. And now many SEOs or many big SEO agencies or SEO tool companies write about like, don't write about informational content since AI is taking the ownership of information. It is of giving information from different sources, even if it cites you, doesn't matter. How do you tackle that? Like, how do you tackle, or since obviously in topical map we cover the whole journey from top to bottom, doesn't matter where the user is. But if the
Yes.
information section is being taken away by AI, how will users see you when information is extracted from your snippet, or there are multiple sources? How, why will the user choose you as well? In obviously in AI overviews we see 5, 6, sometimes 3, 4 sources are cited. So how you increase your likelihood of being clicked on or being chosen in that context?
So first of all, for informational queries, LLMs took information from the real websites. They collect information and then they annotate that information and provide summary by combining multiple websites information, and then provide the references as citations for the information. So the main thing is, without informational content, your chances of AI citations are lesser, because with the help of informational intents, informational content on your website, you get trust signals both
Right.
from search engines and both from LLMs. So LLMs crawlers also see which source is providing more information. When your website provides comprehensive information, instead of going to new websites, the crawlers will come and come again on your website, because your website is satisfying all the intents: informational, navigational, and commercial. So when you become an authority source, when you cover all these things with clear momentum and freshness signals, then eventually you become an authoritative source that LLMs and algorithms of search engine trust you more
Right.
than your competitors.
Right. I think I've taken already a lot of time of you. Just a few more questions, and then you are free to enjoy the rest of the day. I think you have to
Yes,
go
sure,
for
thank you.
a cohort session as well. One question I want
Yes.
to ask, which I don't know the answer of. Sometimes I get confused, even to tell someone as well. So imagine you're writing content for a website, and when you do some research on attributes and you come across competitors who are writing about them, you see that they are not writing very high quality content. By very high quality I mean they are not adding a lot of information to the user. They are just writing generic things. Why do this, how to do this. They are just writing generic things which seem like a layman thing, people normally know that. So if you look at the competitors and say that content is not very high quality, it's easy to beat, do you still go for full high quality, or will you go for an easy way to just to beat them and just be happy with that? How would you go on such a situation?
Yes, I will go with full quality, and I will recommend some off-page signals, off-page authority signals for that page, so that we can sustain our quality. If we go
Mm.
with average level content, they may improve their content, they may
Yeah.
publish new content, and this page gets authority from that ranking pages. So no compromise on quality, so we must go for each page with the highest possible quality, so that if we are unable to keep our momentum, our trust signals come from the content quality,
Mhm.
so that each of these pillars support each other.
Right. Perfect. For the e-commerce websites, where this strategy can be implemented, is it the outer section or the core section like categories and product pages? Because normally when we come across e-commerce, not all e-commerce can have informative content. For example, if someone is selling
Yes.
clothes,
Hmm.
I'm not sure what can they add in the outer section in terms of information, except saying best designs or best trends. So how would you go across such a website unless it's not very competitive or very competitive, let's say?
Yes, for e-commerce websites, we need to have two distinct strategies. For core section, for the product pages, category or collection pages, we need to have micro semantics optimizations.
Mhm.
For example, uh, on the product page, we need to see whether, according to frame semantics, we have covered all the attributes of that product, whether we have covered all the perspectives of that product. So, for product pages and collection pages, we need to optimize micro semantics, And then for the outer section, we need a topical map to support informational needs of our target audience. For example, if there is a clothes store, they are selling clothes, so there are multiple informational topics. For example, size charts, how size charts vary from country to country, or how size charts vary from brand to brand. So
Right.
so these types of content that are universal, informational, and in traditional SEO we used to call it evergreen content. So these will be the informational content, and when you provide both informational and then commercial content, so it is your best bet to win the competition. And then navigational intent. Navigational intent is always ready to convert the users. For example, brand A versus brand B, which one has good clothes for winter season? So
Yeah.
like this very, and these are sometimes SEO tools show search volume only 20 or 50 for such long tail queries,
Yeah.
but these are the real augmented queries, and these are the queries that Google AI overviews patents call it query fan outs. Sir Koray calls it augmented queries, and in
Yeah.
traditional SEO we used to call it long tail queries. So these have very specific intents, and user want to buy, and it is just on the edge of buying the product or service. So through navigational intent and informational intent, we increase the brand popularity and the brand authority over the overall niche, and we struggle to get the categorical authority for the whole cluster of e-commerce websites.
Perfect. Sounds good. Finally, we are at the last question of today's podcast. I've seen you post a lot about schema markup, and obviously it matters a lot when it comes to semantic as well. So, how do you come across this strategy? Like, how do you create a schema markup? Do you use any plugins like Yoast, Rank Math, and or you create by using Chat GPT and then add it as a code in the website? How do you come across and make sure everything or all the entities are connected through schema as well?
Yes, first of all, it needs basic understanding of schema types and schema properties. Then we have a lot of tools for schema markup creation, and AI is the best bet for schema markup creation only if you have some basic understanding which property needs what type of value, which
Yeah.
schema type needs to nest in which schema type, how to connect different schema types with a shared context or shared schema property. So first you need to understand, let's assume you are creating schema markup for an informational page. You need to understand what schema properties you need to put for the web page schema type, and then for organization schema or your brand schema, what information you need to put there, and for website schema, what are the properties that you need to fill in the schema markup, and how to. And the one main context that majority SEOs miss for the schema markup, if you read Google's blog post introducing structured data,
Yeah.
actually schema markup is a joint venture by biggest three search engines: Google, Yahoo, Microsoft. So and Yandex also. So four search engines. So they created a shared language. They created a universally easy to understand language, JSON, LD, or structured data. They have two more types to implement structured data. So the easiest one and the most recommended one by search engine is the JSON LD format.
Yeah.
They created to understand, and in the blog post introducing structured data, Google has written that we struggle to understand the content of a page, so you can help us understand the content by adding structured data in your page. So search engine wants to understand what you have written content. So for each section of your content, we need a representation in the document. For informational pages, it is not like that, but for commercial pages, we have specific sections, so we try to annotate each section in the schema markup. So for each section, we want to represent what is the purpose of this section, what are the keywords in that, what are the contextual entities we mentioned in the mentioned schema property in the web page, what this page is about. We add one or two contextual entity in the about schema property of web page, so that search engine understands, okay, so this page is about these entities, this page mentions these contextual entities. So for distributional semantics, we try to clear the context of the page to the search engines, and then we see which component is most important and how to mark up that component for search engine, so that they can understand the overall context and the intents satisfied in our page through the help of schema markup structured data.
Perfect. I think we are all done with the questions here. That was really comprehensive. It seemed more like an overview of the whole topical authority course.
Yes, that was a great session too with you. I appreciate your efforts, and I am thankful to you for having me here.
No,
Very nice experience.
I really wanted to start my session with the expert, so thanks. You were kind enough to say yes to this without any delays, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
And obviously I will link out to your YouTube channel, where you have obviously, I don't know where you find time for that, but you have got comprehensive videos on topical map, so if you want to learn on that, just definitely go to Behzad's channel. I will add the link in the description. And if you
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
If you have any questions, just leave the comments, and obviously I will try to host Behzad again before Ramadan, before he gets very busy with Ramadan as well. So it was nice talking to you, Behzad. I hope to speak to you soon in upcoming sessions.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and to giving your time. So